Internet, hello you lovelies. Let's talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We're going to do episodes 6, 7, and 8 because they released them in mega swarms. Let's talk about all 3 of those episodes, which I would argue this show is only getting better and better every week. Gonna break down that Daredevil fight, gonna be talking about the Scorpion episode, talking about the parallels of Norman talking about power while May talks about responsibility, all of that and more. But first, if you're new to this page, please hit that subscription bell. We are rapidly approaching 50K. When we hit 50K, gonna do a 50 comic giveaway. Why? Because this page is largely about comics. I love comics, the books themselves. I read about 40 to 50 old comics and about 10 to 20, sorry, the other way around. I read about 40 to 50 new comics and 10 to 20 comics to keep up with what's going on in pop culture every single week. And then I break down my 9 favorite comics of those 40 to 50 new comics on the shelves just for you, recommending what comics I think you'd like to check out. So all of that plus movie reviews and TV reviews like this one. There's a lot going on this page. If you're into pop culture, movies, TV, comics, please hit that subscription bell. Also, please like this video while you're pressing buttons. And finally, let's have a conversation in the comments below. Last week, I broke this up into 3 videos, but the algorithm didn't love me doing a video an hour on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but the comments were incredible. So don't think I didn't see all of the comments saying, yes, I love this, splitting it up, but the videos underperformed by enough that it threw off the algorithm and slowed down other videos. So unfortunately, we're diving into this in full, and let's dive in, shall we, with episode 6. We got some Daredevil greatness, and that fight was so rad and such a great example of the medium of animation feeling like a comic. I love the way everything was set up to where we're still not sure Norman's a bad guy or not, but Daredevil would absolutely think he is because of the Doc Ock situation and the Oscorp logo and things, but it still keeps us guessing at the duplicitousness of Norman. I love that he's become this Iron Man-esque mentor, and then in that moment, he enlists Spider-Man because he kind of owns Spider-Man at this point. So we get an actual viable reason for a superhero fight. In comics, superheroes fight all the time, but it's usually for a pretty thin reason, and then they end up teaming up. Here, we had a valiant and viable reason that these two would fight, and the fight was amazing. Hearing Charlie Cox's Daredevil, it's even more like authentic in animation. Like there's something about it. I was like, oh, it's just Daredevil. It was incredible. Love that fight. Love that episode. I really enjoyed their 2 different fight styles. We really got to see the boxing plus agility of Daredevil. We got to see the, jazzy, wild, acrobatic side of Spider-Man juxtaposing Daredevil style. 2 of the most acrobatic fighters in comic books. Fighting is always exciting, but they did a great job animating it. That episode also brought us some really great stuff with the building of the relationship between Harry and Nico. I really love that the following episode, which we're going to dive into, had a lot of great character development that became the A-plot. I think of episode 7 as a Nico and Harry episode, and that's because of the ground laid in episode 6. So we had great action, but it was juxtaposed by this great indie rom-com kids hanging out situation over in that episode. So, and by the way, you can check all 3 of these reactions out. Right now, they're already up because we're doing those batches well on Real Rejects. So you can see that in its entirety as soon as the episodes are done airing, reactions are up. So check that live reaction out because we all had a very interesting conversation about these dynamics. But I was saying the rom-com drama element is as important as the fighting, and that's comics. And building out these family elements, Peter's found family and real family, is the comic books. I think something that the MCU has struggled with is showing the importance of the supporting cast to the same scale in action and in drama. I think that they do a good job, and I do think that it doesn't get enough credit anymore, but I do think at the Spider-Man Homecoming era, they balanced Tony Stark better than I think gets credit for. He's really only in that movie for like 20 minutes. I just think people wanted a more grounded Spider-Man trilogy, and then as over time, I mean, he literally went to space. Like, he traveled the second movie, he went to space. By the third movie, it's multiversal. The entire trilogy feels so big. It did start decently grounded. We just wanted more grounded for longer. So I think people tie that to the Tony Stark cameo. And then obviously by the time we get to the Doctor Strange relation, that's all very like MCU-eyes. But in the beginning, I think they were doing a better job making it feel like Spider-Man, other characters. This show is doing it so exceptionally that they even have, later on, Iron Man in his comic format, though voiced by a Downey sound-alike, in a way that feels more like what we'd hope for from the comics. And I think that's really smart to acknowledge it head on. They could have done the Sokovia Accords, and anyone that had agreed to the Sokovia Accords had that appearance, because not only did that legitimize everything that happened in Civil War from Spider-Man's side in the more ground level, but specifically using Iron Man showed the power of him in a cameo in this, taking a left instead of a right format. So I think the drama of episode 6 just as important as the action. I really like Nico and Harry getting all of that time to grow as characters. I really like their dynamic. I really think that episode shows why we love comics that are Harry and Peter and Gwen and Mary Jane on a double date, why we care about what happens at the Daily Planet with Robbie and Randy Robertson as well as Jonah. Like, the supporting characters in Spider-Man are just as important as the rogues in Spider-Man, and I would argue Batman and Spider-Man have the best rogues in all of comics, and that only works if you care about a supporting cast too. We care about Flash. We care about everyone. We care about, in this universe, Nico and Harry just as much as what we feel with Lonnie Lincoln. And that brings me to the end of the episode and into episode 6. Lonnie Lincoln's arc is just so incredible with how much we care about this descent into this gang life. We're genuinely invested in his whole journey. The 110 Street Gang, we see how he's corrupted by it. We see him people-pleasing turning into him actually feeling loyalty. We see in a real way how this could happen to a smart kid. A lot of times in pop culture, they very linearly talk about people that are in poverty as criminals. And I talked about that in the last review, how much that pizza scene was important to me. I've talked about how in The Penguin, it was important to me to show the lower strata financially of Gotham not just being criminals, because it's hard to take the time to really express the nuances of people being desperate and acting in certain ways. I think it's great that long form media takes the time to show the humanity in things. This is a great example of how people can fall into gangs. So the Lonnie Lincoln stuff is really hitting for me. All of the betrayals, the incremental escalation and detachment from his friends also brings me to the Pearl conversation, which I think they're setting up beautifully to be a love interest or not. They're doing a really good job, like in real life, where things work and things don't. Episode 7 brought us an incredible experience with the Scorpion. Scorpion was set up in Spider-Man Homecoming all those years ago. Scorpion is one of the earliest Spider-Man rogues from the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko era. Literally in the first year of Spider-Man existing, we got Scorpion. He was one of the first villains to ever come back in Spider-Man. I think Vulture was the first, Scorpion was the second. I think Scorpion's second appearance is literally like issue 20 of Spider-Man. I digress. That's too niche. But that's how impactful and important Scorpion is. He comes back all the time in Spider-Man comics and is always impactful if the right writer is writing him. He's even had Venom for a time because of the impact of Matt Gargan. So I love him after Spider-Man Homecoming, that take on Spider-Man, finally getting this take on Scorpion. The show has done such a good job giving you the take a left instead of a right experience of MCU characters. I love that Thunderbolt Ross is drawn to be like Sam Elliott, which is really interesting, not William Hurt or Harrison Ford, and how that character, Sokovia Accords, would inform him using Iron Man as an enlisted man, would inform him being someone hunting down Doc Ock. That storyline is such a genius way to incorporate the timing of Civil War, but also it's a really interesting thing to see when the government escalates violence. There are often people on the other side of desperation escalating violence. Scorpion got the Scorpion suit because that's what you've got to do to fight the people that are the 110 gang using weapons in the same way. Like, everything's escalation. Like, that's something they do really well in Batman Begins and Dark Knight. I think they did really well here, and the fight itself was so dynamic, so awesome, shades of anime influence, lots of really cool choreography mirroring other Spider-Man lore. That episode also had a lot of really cool stuff that felt like the Spider-Man PS4 and PS5 games, where you're using these dots and markers and swinging around and using radiation. Felt very much like the Sony games. I think they're doing a great job blending visual cues from Spider-Man lore as well as story cues, so you're consciously and subconsciously experiencing all this familiarity while also endearing you deeply to these new takes on characters. That fight was brutal. Spider-Man finally got his mask messed up a little bit, as he does in the comics and the old Tobey films. It felt so authentically like a Spider-Man fight and also felt authentic to this take on the character. I also love that in this world, much like Iron Man sweeping in to save him, the Goblin Glider came down heroically, rescued him, took him out. Absolutely beautiful imagery, absolutely great world building, and feeling very, very comic book. And I wish these episodes were released weekly so we could have experienced a discussion about Daredevil for longer. We could have experienced a conversation about this insane Scorpion fight, but alas, we are releasing them as a 3-episode chunk. So let's dive into episode 8. Episode 8, we got the big culmination of Spider-Man No More, the opening cover. John, again, check out the reaction because John brought it up over there. I love that the episode was Spider-Man No More in a way that was not about in fact, John's right here. John's gonna cameo. John brought up how cool it was that it was Spider-Man No More, and I'm so proud because I didn't see it. I didn't connect it. So, yeah, dude, the desk, crushing it. Spider-Man No More being utilized in a way that was not him thinking he wasn't worthy of the power, him worried that he'd have to be someone seeking respect in order to have power. I love that subversion. Spider-Man walks away from his suit many times, but iconically in Spider-Man No More, in order to be a guy that wants to be Peter Parker. Here he's worried that he can't be a guy that commands respect. And I love that the great power must also come great responsibility is mutated into Norman talking about power, demanding respect, and May talking about the responsibility. You still have the same conversation in two directions from his two parenting figures, all following an episode that was literally like, we're all orphans. There's so much great dynamic ties to family relationships, just like in Spider-Man comics, and there's so many great moments that mirror legacy moments, and I really love this episode having those two mirrors and Spider-Man not appearing in this episode. Episode 8 did not have Spider-Man in the suit. It had the bloody suit. He's Peter Parker, the whole thing, and that is him throwing out the bloody suit, replacing it with the iconic Spider-Man, but in the opening it gives us Spider-Man No More, which in this episode is used in a different and new and genius way. Also, lots of great character building with all the characters. Loved Harry and Nico continuing their friendship. I love that car scene being just about them, and we weren't even thinking about Spider-Man for a time. I love that they're their own dynamic, and I think that's really important, and most of all, I loved that all of that friendship building and them finding commonality, finding a bond. Not only is that super realistic, and again, feels like an indie movie, but at the end, she's still mad at Peter Parker. Peter Parker still betrayed her. Harry has fixed their stuff, but I loved how realistic it was that Peter is still the one that didn't tell her, and she does still feel hurt. I love all these dynamics feeling real enough that her feeling hurt feels authentic. I love Harry's relationship with his father here that can escalate into the way it does in the comics or not. I love that Harry and Norman's relationship is so different that Peter and Norman's relationship gets to be different, and we're so invested if Norman becomes the Goblin or not. So they're doing a really great job. I'm really excited to see where this goes now that he's going to be in the comic accurate suit, and I'm sure a slight tinge take on it. We got 2 episodes left for the big finale. Escalation of stakes personally, professionally, in action, in suits. They're doing such a good job making this serialized and feel like a comic, and it feels so authentically Spider-Man while being all new stories. This is playing the hits but in a different key, and I think that is the best way to grow the Spider-Man mythology, and I am loving the show oh so very much. Please let me know in the comments what you're thinking of the show overall. Let me know what you thought of these episodes. Let me know what you thought of this video. Agree, disagree, did I miss anything? It was a little hard to do in one. I did some speed talking, old movie fight style, so hopefully it was all fairly comprehensive and cohesive. Again, leave a comment below. I want to know what you thought of these thoughts as well as your own, and please hit a like while you're pressing buttons. Please hit subscribe if you haven't already, and please go read some comics. As of last week, my DC comic back cover is me. So if you're at your local comic shop, flip over some DC comics. You might find your boy. If you do, take a photo. Tag me in it. I want to share those. It makes me so happy, and it's so surreal and absolutely insane. I'm on comics, so I want to celebrate it, and I want to celebrate it with you because you guys are the reason that happened. Without you guys, I'm not on comics, and that's one of the great life accomplishments of my life. So thank you. Let's celebrate together. I will see y'all next week for episodes 9 and 10. I will see you this weekend for some movie reviews. Lots of big stuff's coming out. Little movie called Captain America, a little movie called Paddington. We got a little Cap 4 Paddington combo this weekend, so you can expect a lot of Captain America videos as well as a lot, probably one Paddington video, because frankly, I know Cap's going to do a little better view-wise, but I'm excited for both. Either way, stay tuned for Paddington review, non-spoiler Captain America, as well as Greg. He didn't know I already said it, but Greg making sure I plugged the fact that we react to these on Real Rejects now for the 3rd time, because I'm a man of my word. Check out our reactions over at Real Rejects. You see the violence? Do you see what happens between cuts? All right, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.